Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. So all the information on Tanki Classic was just announced. It was actually in a live stream by a Russian Tanki YouTuber. That was of course Nick10, pretty OG Tanki Online YouTuber. He's been here for forever, but he had like a 3 to 5 hour interview with Opex Raw, which is of course the game developer, one of the game developers right now. And let's go over everything we know now about what's basically coming for Tanki Classic. So we're going to be having more information released on December 27th, either the 27th of next month or in 2 days from now. But it's kind of wild that Hazel had a freaking 5-hour interview with a Russian YouTuber. It'd be nice if they reached out to us English YouTubers so we could share information with you. Because the only way I know about the information from his live stream is because a viewer of my channel was generous enough to translate and give me all the information from the stream with Hazel that Nick10 had. So let's get straight into the information. So first, Tanki Classic was born as an idea in 2013. So Tanki was already thinking of making a classic version back in 2013, which is kind of wild because the game was so good back in 2013. And work on the current version of Tanki Classic started in 2024. So Tanki's only been working on the classic version for like a year now, I would say. They probably started working in early January, early 2024. From what I can tell. Obviously, I don't know, but that would probably make the most sense. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a little bit before we actually get Tanki Classic in the game. But yeah, they started working on it in 2024. Tanki Online, the normal game, will always be updated because Hazel said it does bring in more money. I can definitely see that because there's a lot more ways the game is monetized right now. So it would make sense that they're still going to be getting a lot of updates for current Tanki Online. So that's going to be pretty nice as well. Let's be honest, when Tanki Classic comes out, that's basically going to be the main thing I'm playing. I probably won't be playing much else of the other games, or at least the main game. So that's pretty nice that we'll still get updates for normal Tanki. Tanki completely remade the Flash version of the game on HTML, built from the current Tanki Online version. So we obviously have current Tanki Online right now, and looks like they've used what we have right now to remake the game. Now, this could be a both positive and negative. Positive because hopefully the game will run better because it's on a more polished engine. But I'm hoping we don't see remnants of the of the HTML version in the Flash version. It'd be nice if it felt like a completely different version of the game than the current HTML version feels. Now, it would kind of suck if we had a mix of HTML and Flash because they're using the current version of the game to make the game. But I'm hoping they remade it completely, and so we don't really see any remnants of HTML in the old Flash version of the game. Fingers crossed there. So Tanki Classic will have a client and a web version like old Tanki. I think they added the client in like 2015, 2016. They only added the client for Tanki Online, the normal old Flash version, probably 5, 6, 7 years after the game initially came out. So it's nice that we're getting a client. Dude, the old client, when you clicked it and it had that Flash play button where you had to press play, that was freaking awesome. Next, it will be on mobile. So that's pretty darn nice for the mobile players because let's be honest, there's a lot of mobile players in Tanki Online right now. So giving the mobile players the option to play Flash is pretty awesome as well. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be pretty nice. I mean, I won't play it on mobile, but I can see a lot of people who would play the old version of Tanki on mobile. All right, so another big thing is it will have the Flash interface. This is obviously a given. We know it's going to have the Flash interface. That's the old version of the game. So what you're seeing on screen right now will hopefully be what we get when the game releases, or at least maybe an older version like that, because I think this one on screen is from like 2018 or so, so it's not too old. The next one, which is pretty nice, is that there's no matchmaking, meaning it's going to be the old pro battle system. I'm a huge fan of this just because I think matchmaking had its place at the beginning. It was really enjoyable to have matchmaking when pro battles were dead and there weren't too many being made. But I think when the game first comes out, when Tanki Classic first comes out, there's going to be a lot of players, meaning there's going to be a lot of pro battles to actually play. So I'm happy that we're getting pro battles back. The next one is that it's going to be 2017 and earlier. I think 2016 was my favorite year in Tanki Online. A lot of people really like the pre-2013 era before you had that huge graphical change in the game, but I'm happy with the 2014 to 2016 era. I think it would also be cool if we had maybe the 2013 version of the game and then we got some updates later, but I don't think we're getting any updates for the game. We'll go into that later here. The next one, no overdrives, augments, or hovering holes. This is another big bonus because overdrives, augments, and hovering holes were the current version of the game. We don't want that. We want the old version of the game. So that's obviously really good. Next thing is there won't be any tank coins in the game. I'm kind of annoyed at the tank coin currency in the game. I don't think it really fits Tanki Online that well. Obviously, it kind of does in some ways, but I prefer just having dollars being spent in the shop and then crystals being spent in the garage. I don't like having 10 coins being able to be spent in the garage, rubies being able to be spent in the garage, and money. It just feels a bit complicated, and I like the old system of only being actual dollars being spent in the shop, whereas you spend crystals in the garage. I like that a lot better. So next thing, no bots in the game. I think that would be awful to have bots in Tanki Classic. It just would not work well. And as long as we have enough players playing it, minimum you probably need around 500 to keep those pro battles doing really well. But as long as we have just a few hundred players playing at a time, we should be good, and the game should do really well in pro battles. So that's another huge bonus there as well. Next one, no Magnum and later turrets. So obviously we have turrets like Striker, which was added in 2016. I think that's the last turret we should get, and it looks like that will be the last turret that we're getting, probably the 2016 era, because again, Striker was added in Christmas of 2016. It's a relatively newer turret in terms of, Tanki's age, but then we had Magnum and Tesla and Gauss and Scorpion all added after that. So it's nice that we don't have to see any of those turrets, because Magnum ruined so many maps. Noise was ruined the second Magnum was added to the game, so I'm glad that we're not getting Magnum in the game and all the turrets after that. So that's a pretty big, bonus as well. So obviously there's no account transfers. I think a lot of people knew that. You're not going to just be able to transfer your account over to the game. The only thing that looks like you can transfer is your name. So you can transfer your name over to the main game, but you can't transfer your account. So obviously I think this is really good, because now you can actually grind out the game. Imagine if you got into Tanki Classic max rank and you have really no reason to play the game anymore because you're already max rank. And the best thing about old Tanki was how long it took to grind out. I mean, that could be also a negative, but I think the amount of time it took to grind out made the game so much more fun. So I hope we get it to where it's relatively hard to grind out. Also, remember seeing the freaking progress bar of your actual rank going up whenever you got a kill? That was so freaking awesome back in the day, but that's also really nice. Next, there's going to be Generalissimo, which is the highest rank. I think it would be nice to have Legend, but I'm happy about this. And remember, guys, the max rank didn't used to be Generalissimo. When it first came out, it was, I think, 2 or 3 ranks prior to that. But yeah, Generalissimo will be the highest ranking Tanki Classic. This is good. We'll have a lot of ranks to grind out. I'm excited for that. Next, an attempt at old physics. So it looks like Tanki's trying to make the old physics. And since they're recreating the game from the HTML5 version, and they're not just importing the old version like all the Tanki ripoffs do, it seems they do have to recreate the old physics, which I guess hopefully we get it almost perfect. It'd be nice if we got the exact old physics that we used to get. So I'm hoping they make the physics really well and we get the old physics that we all used to love. There's going to be better graphics. I'm not sure how I feel about this. It could just be like the game has better FPS and everything looks a little bit more polished. It probably doesn't mean they're just going to make an HD version of Flash. I mean, I would be somewhat open to that as long as it doesn't change the core game. Because it would suck if we're like, oh, Tanki Classic, we're in the game. And then it's like, okay, this does not look the same. So I don't think that's what they're saying with the updated graphics. It's probably just going to be everything looks a little bit more polished, a little bit less aged, I guess you would call it. But I'm for this idea, and I think it could maybe be bad if they make it too updated for the graphics. But we'll see. Next, there's going to be an old like tutorial. I think a lot of you guys remember the old tutorial. You used to start in your garage, you left your garage, traveled kind of through a small tutorial map, and then at the end you could like zoom off of a ramp. So the old tutorial was pretty fun. I like the idea. Next, we are getting kits. I think a lot of you guys knew this. It would be awesome if we got the crystal kits in the garage and the purchasable kits. I personally wouldn't have any purchasable kits in the shop, but Tanki needs to make money somehow. So as long as they have both shop kits and garage kits combined, so free players can grind out for normal kits while people who want to spend money can definitely spend money. I think that'll be a good mix there. So paints and modules will be separate. So we're not going to be like the old Tanki or super old Tanki where your paints would reflect what protections you have. So there will be protection modules and paints separate, which I personally like a little bit more than when paints had protections on them, because then you were kind of forced to use one paint, whereas it's nice when they're separate because you can use a paint you enjoy while also using protections you need. All right, next one. Events will happen like Halloween, Christmas, April Fools. I'm so freaking excited for this. This is like one of the biggest things because I think we can all agree the old events are what made a lot of Tanki so special, was because those nostalgic events were just so freaking awesome. So I'm excited we're getting events as well. I mean, it was kind of a given, but it's nice to hear. Next one, esports will be a thing. There will be esports tournaments. This is really nice. I don't play esports too often, so it doesn't hype me up that much, but I can understand how a lot of esports players will enjoy this a lot. Next, monetization will be different, more than just crystals and premium, meaning they're probably going to be having events that you spend money on, maybe new paints, maybe new skins in the game. I'm open to the idea of the game being monetized in more ways than just premium and, you know, the normal kits and crystals and shop. Like, obviously, you could spend money on supplies, all that other stuff. I could maybe see adding new skins. I think Tanki should stay away from adding too many skins to begin with, because that's another thing. It's going to be more than just XT skins. I think this is both good and bad, because the progression that you get for getting like MO through M3 skins are awesome, but then if you use other skins, you won't really be able to tell the progression that people are at. I think as long as Tanki doesn't add too many skins too early, or at least makes them really hard to get, there'll be like old XT skins in Tanki where you see someone with that, you know they've grinded out and they're really good at the game. So as long as they don't make it super easy to obtain, I think this could be a good addition to Tanki Classic. Battle Pass system is being considered, not the Star Battle Pass system, but a Battle Pass system like you have in Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends. Basically every game in the world right now has a Battle Pass system. Again, I'm open to this just because I like the idea of having more than just ranks grinding out. It's nice to grind out both the Battle Pass and ranks. So I'm open to the idea of a Battle Pass as long as it's not like an OP Battle Pass that makes players just unbelievably powerful compared to people who don't have the Battle Pass. Like, it would be nice to have a free version of the Battle Pass and a paid version where it's more so focused on cosmetic stuff like new paints and less so focused on pay to win stuff. So that would be cool as well. Next, you can't update Tanki Classic. Only if players demand an update, it will happen. This is both good and bad because there's some updates in the game that are just crucial to the game. But also, if they start out with the 2016 version, which I believe was one of the perfect and best versions of the game at the time, will be awesome. And then it sounds like OPEX is only open to the idea of updates if players demand updates, like maybe adding containers, adding different things in the game. I think that'd be interesting, like adding battle passes. That could be an update. But it looks like they won't be updating the game from like 2016 all the way to 2020. They're going to keep the game how it is for the year it's released in. So that's pretty interesting as well. It'd be cool if they went back like to previous years, like updating it while reverting the years. But, you know, until we know when the game's coming out and what's coming out, we don't really know at this time. Next one, vlog will be for both Tanki Online and Tanki Classic. So they'll be combining the updates for Tanki Classic and the additions for Tanki Classic into the vlogs for Tanki Online. So we'll just get all the information centralized into one vlog, which is nice. You don't have to watch two. I mean, it'd be kind of cool to have 2 vlogs a week, but I'm fine with there just being like one vlog that has both the information for normal Tanki and Tanki Classic. And this will kind of be good for showing the current players in the game what's coming to their game and what's coming to Tanki Classic, so players of both games can maybe enjoy having all of that together. So that's pretty cool as well. OPEX doesn't believe in Tanki Classic having good online numbers. So Tanki Classic, it sounds like from what I can tell in the translation, OPEX doesn't think it's going to be as big as a lot of us do. I mean, just based on the views on all my Tanki Classic videos, I feel like it's going to be gigantic, at least for the first few months. But it sounds like OPEX already doesn't have too much faith in the project in terms of it being like the biggest thing in the game. He still thinks the normal Tanki Online game will have more players. I would probably disagree with that for at least the first 6 months. It might start to level out after the honeymoon phase ends, but I think Tanki Classic will be not as big as it once was, but it will still be good. Oh wow, they had tank coins back in like 2018. I forgot about that, but I think that shop looks pretty good. Look at that shop, man. That shop was awesome. Look at those bundles. Thanks for your purchase. That was also nostalgic as well. All right, next one. Tanki Classic is here to fight pirates in more than just the legal field. So, like a lot of us thought, a big reason for Tanki Classic coming was to fight the pirated versions of the game, which are taking money from players and money from Tanki as well. So I obviously kind of knew this was one of the major reasons for Tanki Classic coming. It was to combat the pirated and fake versions of the game. Next, OPEX is not the lead game designer of Tanki Classic. So he's still in charge of what it looks like normal Tanki, and we're having a bunch of different people step in to take the lead for Tanki Classic. which I think is good. It's good to have people in leads of different games and not have one guy in lead of both the normal game and Tanki Classic, because your information and everything you want to do can kind of get skewed with what you're doing for the different versions. So, and all that info was from the stream that he had the interview with OPEX. It sucks. It would be nice if we could have this interview with OPEX as well, but this video we'll have to do in the meantime, unless maybe they reach out. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this information. Does this make you more excited for Tanki Classic or less excited? I think it's a mix, because some stuff it's like, oh shoot, that looks really fun. I think it'll just hype up the game. I don't think there's any negatives to this interview, so I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. See you guys in a future video. Peace out, everybody.